Hi guys, what's going on? It is your host, Natty B, here with my co-host Nia. I actually took a page from her book today. I have my drink in my hand. We'll talk about our drinks later on. But I wanted to welcome you to episode 2. Thank you so much for following us and all the great feedback. We really appreciate it. And we're actually going to talk about my necklace here. So I have a friend named Alyssa, and I'm going to call her my friend because she's awesome. And she has a company called Nairi. And I get like all my jewelry. Well, Nia, I am not an accessory person. I freaking suck in that department. God, I don't even have on earrings. So I am very simple when it comes to jewelry. So I went to this boutique because I like to shop exclusive clothes. Maybe in my past life, I was like Kim Kardashian or something. So I went to Mainstream Boutique here in Riverview, and she happened to be doing a pop up, and I absolutely love her. She is amazing. She's Dominican. She's a woman of God. She's a mom. I mean, she's all the things. So she has literally been helping me to achieve these little looks so that I'm not so plain Jane when it comes to my jewelry.
I love it.
So thank you. So I am going to put her link at the end of the video, and I also have a promo code, the B side. Actually, it's going to be B side. And no, she's not sponsoring this episode. I just like to give shout outs to good people. So, however, if you do want to sponsor,
open to sponsorship, yes.
If you do want to sponsor any of our episodes, please feel free to email us at thebsidewithnattyb@gmail.com. So with that being said, we're going to get straight to it. Community service.
I love this subject.
Now, community service to a lot of you may be like picking up trash, beach cleanup, organizing, giving out food, which I do all of those things. I love to volunteer with the little bit of time that I have. But this is not your...
Wait, we totally have to do an episode about the PTA. What you guys don't know is that there was a time in which Natty B was like, I mean, honestly, she was like the president. I don't think she had the title.
I did, actually. The second year I did.
Yes.
I was the president. I was the president.
Year, took the chick spot second year. You know what I'm saying? That's how we get down. But I learned so much about said organization. And it is an organization with a hierarchy. They have a culture.
Yes.
Yeah, I learned a lot because though I am a mother of 3, I was not a PTA mom because I was a working mom. So, carry on. Just wanted to put that plug in there. Please,
well, is definitely a chapter in my life that God knows I try to forget it all the time.
Never live again.
Never. And, I try to be a good mom and do all that stuff, but there's definitely boundaries that mothers should not cross for their children. Okay. So that is definitely for a whole 30-minute episode. Yes. So community service to us here at the B-side is what women do in relationships with said men. So as we talked about in the first episode, Nia and I have been friends for 16 years. I mean, she met me, I think I wasn't even 20 yet. I was 19 years old, like literally had just, it was a year since I had graduated high school. So she has definitely been through all of my relationship journeys. And boy, do we have some stories for you. So I would say one of the things that number one, I just got married. It's going to be 2 years in October. So one of the things that I used to always say is, I'm going to be a 40-year-old cat lady. I'm going to be a 40-year-old cat lady. You remember that?
She doesn't even like cats. I don't even
I
understand how
don't.
that was ever a possibility. You don't even, and aren't you allergic?
I am, and so is Ariana. But what I would say is, I'm going to be a 40-year-old cat lady. You would respond back with, "You don't even like cats," and then I used to say that I was just going to buy like stuffed cats and have them laid out in my house because I could not find a decent man to have a relationship with.
You know what?
And
Wait. I'm not gonna say that because I kind of was fond of a couple of them. It's not that they weren't decent. They just okay, not necessarily fond, but there were a few that were decent, right? So I want to give credit where credit is due. Suitable, they were not. So let's just say it was very difficult for you to find a suitable mate. Just in case anyone's watching this, I don't want anyone to, come after us after the show or anything. Although we
I
do
well,
carry weapons. FYI.
I would have to say that suitable they were not suitable would be the correct term. And also too, I learned throughout my dating journey and my spiritual journey that Natty B, cannot allow people to overcompensate on the things that are non-negotiable to me. And that is a lesson that you helped me come to the conclusion on, because I would be like, "Oh, well, you have this, this, and this." And then you were lacking in 2 out of the 5 of my non negotiables. So then the minute that you stopped doing the 1, 2, and the 3, I was like, "That's it. I'm done. This is not going to work." Calling people bitches and doing all the things that are not appropriate to
Driving
do.
to their house to call them a bitch.
A bitch
I
in
just
person
want to make
because
sure that we set the stage appropriately. Because it's one thing to just call someone that, like, maybe someone thinks she texted it. Maybe someone thinks
no.
she said it over the phone. No. She drove to his humble abode to knock on the door and say, "You're a bitch." Mm-hmm. My, have we come a long way. And this is
Listen,
all due to your community service, right? So,
this is
community
it is
service.
due to my community service, because it got to the point where I was like, you know what? That's it. I don't want to date. I want a husband. And I stopped. First of all, your words are very powerful. And I had to learn that you can't, like, you have to say exactly what you want and put it into the atmosphere. So this whole, I wanted to be a 40-year-old cat lady, it wasn't a want. That was my way of like deflecting from the fact that here I was 30-ish, and actually early 30s, and I was still single and not able to find anyone that met my relationship standards or my relationship goals. So, thanks to your guidance, it got to the point where I stopped saying that I was going to be a 40-year-old cat lady, and I made a list, and I like sustained from having any type of relationship with anyone, and gave myself like a fasting period where I was just like doing my own thing, focusing on myself, because we do that, right? As women.
Mm-hmm.
Not that my goal in life has always been to, get married and build a family. But when you start pushing 30, you're like, oh shit. Like, this is because I didn't have that, right? We came from 2 different worlds. You
Mm-hmm.
got married young
Mm.
and had your kids and got divorced and, etc. I didn't have that. I had a child with someone who was not a good fit for me. And then I was single for, date casually dating, but I was pretty much single for about 4 years of that. And then when I was like, all right, now I'm like almost going to be 30, so I kind of felt like I needed to, amp it
Settle
up,
down.
settle down, and I just made one bad decision after another.
One community service opportunity after another. See, I'm here for the silver lining, to when life throws you shit, I kind of help you wipe it off, clean up a little bit, and say, hey, now
And
you know what it feels like when someone throws shit on you, so they can never tell you that it's not shit that they threw on you. And here's the thing, I understand wholeheartedly, even though I'm a few years older than you and I had a different path, that whole reality check at 30 happens no matter what your path is. Like, I feel like I borderline did a research study on everyone I knew around who was turning 30 around that time. It was like a take inventory of my life and am I where I thought I wanted to be when I was 20 or 18 or whatever? And if not, oh shit. I
right,
need to
it's like
figure
the
something out. I need to,
right.
you feel like you gotta,
It's
it
like a
gives you this
social
sense of
clock.
urgency.
Honestly, it is
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It's like
Which
a
we should blow them
social.
all up.
Right, we should. It's a social clock. It's a, my family is great. I love all my family, but you kind of look at everyone around you and you're like, I am not there. But I've always been different. So I accepted the fact that my journey was not that journey. But when you're pushing 30, you're like, damn, is a bitch gonna be like an old bride? Like, am I gonna be freaking 40, unable to wear concealer because
Whoa,
it cakes?
whoa. With the whole 40 thing, like, chill out.
But from, it just like our kids, your kids think we're old, and that's okay. Like,
Yes, they do. They do
they think
think
we're
that
old.
I'm
They don't
old.
realize, right, that we're hip and young and whatever. So for me, it was
They will when they
definitely,
get to be this age. They'll understand just how young it really is.
yes, exactly. Honestly, I feel like first of all, I'm in the best shape of my life. And when I say that, I mean like mentally. Like for me,
Right.
fitness is a journey, and my mental space in my journey has been amazing compared to when I was, 25, 26 and trying to have abs and not eat and do this and do that. So, yeah,
Thank God I
we
never
won't.
had that issue.
We'll talk about the carb
I let go
police.
of abs at 11. Yeah. I knew it wasn't in the cards for me. I just, had to set different goals for myself. But it's good. But community service. So to expound a little bit, it's a term that I gave to Natty because, again, I was tired of hearing the cat lady story. And I was also trying to give you some, positive perspective in that everything that we go through is by design. The good, the bad, the in between, the uncertain, the absolutely known, all of it is by design. And so I wanted you to understand that I know this sucks right now because it's not what you desire, but have faith and trust in your God to guide your life such that even though this sucks, you'll be good in the end because we know that that's scriptural. That's what God's word says is that he'll take care of you and make sure that everything is working together. But when we say that, we think of the positivity in it, but we don't acknowledge the reality that means even the shitty stuff.
Right.
is somehow for your good, right?
Right.
And to be able to say, all right, check it. So, yes, this is the third guy in 9 months, but, they're better for being with you. You know what I
Right.
mean? You're giving to the community, helping these men be better versions of themselves for someone else. That
Right.
is precisely what community
Right.
service is,
And
right?
we all do
You are
that. We
helping.
all do that.
Yep.
And we're taking this angle because we like this was my life, right? So we're giving a clips of my life. But women do community service even when they're married. Like I have in our industry, and I must have a face that says please tell me all your problems, but I come across so many different women, and I like even women that have been married 20, 30 years talking about how their spouse doesn't help with the kids or doesn't do this or doesn't do that. So for us as women, we try to do I like especially I think it's a Libra thing, but we like to cater to people, right? So for
Mm-hmm.
me, I'm going to treat you how I want to be treated. Period. It's as simple as that. So I pay attention to details. If you say you like this, I try to, whether it be 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, I try to incorporate that into whatever it is that I'm doing for you. So community service doesn't necessarily mean that you're like dating these men and then you kind of shoo them off into another relationship. But I strongly believe that it also happens to people who have been married for many, many years. It's almost like, I don't want to say you have to train people, but I personally,
I'll say it. I was just waiting for you to take a pause, so I could jump on in, and I was going to say just that because, um, in the spirit of what you said, I agree with the whole treat others how you want to be treated, right? And I say in the spirit versus the letter of what you say, because what I have learned, and I'm a few years ahead of you, in my community service that I have done, is that how I want to be treated is not how other people want to be treated, or vice versa. And we run into issues sometimes when I'm loving you the way I want to be loved, but actually, the way you want to be loved is not the way I want to be loved. And there's a book that I'm sure everyone knows about, and I do life coaching and counseling, and I do marriage counseling and premarital counseling. And so Naide was one of my peeps, and her husband, we did premarital counseling, and I had them to read the book Five Love Languages because it introduces the conversation and the potential reality that the way you want to be loved does not match the way they want to be loved. It doesn't mean you can't have a successful relationship.
no, it
But
doesn't.
if I'm only giving to you what I want back from you and what you want from me is not what I want, then
I honestly
we're going
think
to
that
have an
that's
issue.
what, right. And I think that's why the divorce rate is so high, to be honest with you. I think that even though I've only been married, for almost 2 years, I had to learn that it's not the Natty B show all the time. And I had to learn that sometimes it takes people longer to take it all in and decompress. And I'm like, no, no, no. We need a resolution right now. Right. I need to know why. I need to know how this won't happen again. I need to know why you said that. Like, I am ready to full on stop whatever we're doing and have a conversation about the issue that I have. The one rule that I have is that we don't argue in public. There's no time for that. But best
Mm-hmm.
believe that I'm going to put it right here. And
In
the
the file
minute,
cabinet.
the
On the way
minute we
home,
get in
she's
the
like,
car, right, the Rolodex of thoughts, I want to bring up that
and he
statement you
said this.
made to the second.
And then
Right.
at 4:22 on Thursday, yes, because please understand that Natty B of the B side is very thorough in all sense of the word. Okay? Including she knows
I used to
when the infraction happened, what time, what date, what the weather was like, and what you were wearing.
correct, because I don't want any I do not want any miscommunication. I want you to know that I picked up the time, the hour, exactly what you said, verbatim. And I had to learn that not everybody processes things like I do. My husband is, oh my God,
Very different.
amazing. Very different. He is the jack of all trades. He's funny, he's humble, he's kind. And I had to learn that not everybody wants a resolution to the issue right away. I had to learn that people, decompress differently.
Need
I had to
time
learn,
to
right.
process.
I had to learn that you just can't call dudes bitches
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that be
That
okay.
was a big one. Yeah. Yeah, no, it is not. Public service announcement to all of our ladies out here. Um, don't be out here calling men bitches. It's even if they are, right? Even if it's true, it's just in bad form, and it's probably not going to be productive. So I just think you should not do it. You should never drive to their house, knock on their door, and
No,
tell
don't
them
do that.
either.
Don't do that.
That was
I'm very, very honest. Um, and sometimes it's to a fault. And I have had to learn that it's okay for things not to work out, right? Because we're in a society right now where obviously we're not celebrities. So not everybody watches our relationships. We're not on TMZ, we're not on
right.
People magazine. So it's, however, you are under a microscope to your own mind. Like when something
Mm-hmm.
doesn't work out, it's okay to say, that shit was not for me.
Mm-hmm.
I need to
And move
cut
on.
ties and move on. Because I do have a daughter, my perspective on it is that if I made some type of introduction, that absolutely had to work because I did not want to be known as that mother that introduced her child or children to every single person that they dated. So
Yeah.
I would date a little bit differently because I did have the flexibility when she went to her father's house to go date, and I could date that person, for 6, 7 months and then determine whether they were going to be a good fit or not. So I also had to learn that sometimes when you give yourself to someone, there there are ties that are a little bit harder to pull away from.
Oh, you mean like soul ties?
Yes, soul ties.
Oh. Hmm.
Disclaimer, I had no idea what that was. And honestly, when I first heard about it, I was like, yeah, that's just not real. Like, that's, I was like, that's just not real. That doesn't make sense. I determine whether or not I am going to break a chain from a relationship and move on or whatever the case may be. So I want you to share a little bit about soul ties because I did not believe that shit was real until I were until I put myself in these situations, which were not many, but where I was like, damn, why can I let that go? Or why am I taking this situation and finding negatives in myself? Like, why do I feel like this is my fault? Why do I feel like I need to be better? Why do I feel like I can't break away. But you kind of fall into this pattern of believing that this person has this hold over you to where they start to make you feel small. They start to make you feel not good enough. They make you feel, and I have been verbally told that I was a single mom. I wasn't going to find anyone. No one was going to want me with, with a kid. So I want you to share a little
Apparently, that
bit.
person never saw you in a Target dress.
I want you to share a little bit about soul ties just to kind of put some insight out there, because I think that when people hear this type of stuff, they're like, yeah, okay, I was not a believer. I was not. But then I put myself in these situations. And I'm like, shit, like, why is this so impossible to get out of? So go ahead.
Yes, so soul ties. It's absolutely a thing. The great thing about the truth is you don't have to believe it for it to be the truth. So it is, in fact, okay. Soul ties are like an addiction in the fact that you don't know that you have a problem initially. And then when you are separated from whatever it is that you're addicted to, you begin to see that I can't let this go. So, like you described, a relationship that needs to end or is not for you, yet you can't seem to shake that person. And that means they've penetrated more of your soul, your mind, your heart, that connection of who you are, what makes you who you are. They have now attached themselves, or you have allowed them to become attached to that. And so now when they're gone, you over here trying to like get some more. Whole time you're like, I really should give up drugs, but I just need one more hit. Like,
you
I ain't
know,
running around looking like you're a crack.
To add to that, I will say that I think that's why I view sex so differently. For me, it's like, it's not just a body count, you know, and I have heard, I mean, I've worked with people, I've heard multiple stories. Like, so for me, it's not even a judgment thing. But for me, once I started to learn about soul ties, it was like, okay, literally, I was like, after my last relationship, which lasted a lot longer than what it should have, because I was advised by my best friend that I was dragging this person along. And I was like, oh, it's okay. Like, they do X, Y, and Z. And looking back on it, I was like, what the fuck was I thinking? Like, there's just no sugarcoating it. I was like, what the hell? Why did I stoop so low, you know? So,
But
but
it wasn't like that either. Like, because I remember that conversation so distinctly. When I told you that, and you were like, like when somebody comes to tell you something and they're like super excited, and like you're like, oh my gosh, I came up with the greatest thing ever, right? It's called sliced bread, and it's gonna go crazy. I know it. And then the person you're talking to is like, so sliced bread actually already exists. So but your bread may still be viable in the market, but you're gonna have some competition, and it's gonna be a hell of a lot harder than what you think, because there's already sliced bread, right? So you can't have the slice. It's the best thing since sliced bread is because sliced bread already exists. You know what I'm saying? But it's
right.
really like that type of situation. When I said to you, listen, this person, yes, treats you like a queen. This person adores you. This person does this and does that. But this person is not evenly matched with you, right? Or at how the Bible says this person is not equally yoked with you. So how you're going to spend your whole life like this?
Right.
Because
And
every
for the
time this
record,
happens,
right.
like,
It was like I was leveling up and that person was not. And for the record, that person was ended up not being a good person. It was all a facade. And so for me, it was like, all right, like I don't know if you've watched Half Baked. Have you? There's a part and this is credit to my amazing husband, but he plays the most random shit. Do you remember when he played that I'm on a boat
I'm on a
video?
boat. I'm on a boat.
My husband plays some of the most random shit, and I love him for
We
it.
love Mr. Crane. He is
We
the
do.
best.
He's literally amazing. But there is, for those of you who have not watched Half Baked, it's first of all, it's not my type of movie. Like it's hilarious, but there is a specific part where Killer, the dog, dies, and then they go to explain who Killer the dog was. So there's a part where they're like, that's it. Killer called off all his fights because Killer was a fighting dog, right? So for me and my journey, and you have to watch it, I'm actually going to link the YouTube clip to it because it is hilarious.
I just want to point out she had a chihuahua named Killer.
I did, which is
not sure
Killer's
if there
still
was
alive.
any like correlation. Yes,
There's
terrorizing
not.
the hell out of somebody off of Florida Avenue right now. Right now.
Killer, I do have Killer. I named my dog. My parents gave me a dog like right before I graduated high school, and his name was Killa. It's Killa. But in the movie, Half Baked, they talk about Killer the dog. So, anyways, there's this part which I'm gonna link because it's freaking hilarious. And shout out to my husband because I would have never in a million years YouTube this on my own. But basically, Killer is like, that's it. He's calling all his fights and like started smoking crack. And it's pretty hilarious. But I got to a point where I was like, you know what? That's it. Like, I'm done dating. I am a beautiful girl and I am confident. I'm smart. I'm literally, we're all made to be one of a kind. And I told myself that was it. I was no longer going to, number one, date, put myself out there, fall into this trap of like trying to like pull someone along, or I was basically like trying to like mold shit, right? Like we were molding clay. We were not molding clay. I was literally trying to mold shit, and the shit would not stay together.
Sometimes when you're doing community service, it can get a little shitty,
Right. I was trying to mold shit into these things that I wanted.
And it smelled really bad.
Smelled really bad. It was just horrible. So I told myself, you know what? I'm going to make a list. I'm going to pray on my list. And literally, I remember having this conversation with you and you were like, you need to the T, write the list. So I was like, taller than 6 foot, amazing in bed, freaking established, has a job and a car.
Most important to Natty B. He's tall and amazing to bed with the top two. Yeah.
Has a car, has a job.
First of all, has a car? You had to put that on the list?
Yes, I did.
Funny story. You did. Because, what are we going to call him? Larry.
Larry did not have a car and had a damn good excuse.
Look, to protect the privacy of those involved in these stories, we've changed all of the names.
Larry didn't have a car.
Wait, no, Larry had a car. Larry had a car at first. Remember the roof leaked, so he couldn't drive it in the rain? Y'all could only go on dates when it was sunny outside. Oh, Jesus, forgive me. But you know
You're
what?
not
Hold on.
lying.
I do want to point out, because I have heard before some people criticize the whole having a list and all these things. I just want to clarify that this list we're referring to is your request to God, right? So I
Right.
encourage you to ask God
Yeah,
for
and
what you want.
listen, after all
And
the shit that I was trying to mold and the community hours that I put in, I fuck that.
you earned
I
the
wrote
right to
my
ask
list.
for exactly
Exactly.
what you
Exactly.
wanted.
And I did,
And
because for me it was like, okay, I'm going to abstain from dating. I'm going to abstain from sex. I'm going to abstain from all of it. So the next person that I give any attention to is going to be my husband. And that's exactly what happened. Because of the list, because of the prayer, because I released myself from these, soul ties, because I stopped dealing with fuck boys, let's be honest.
yep.
That's what they are. And I made a list and I checked it twice. And I literally prayed on it, and I focused on my career. I focused on being a good mother. I focused on all the things that I wanted as a woman, because let's not get it twisted. I am far from perfect, but I feel like we live in a society where there's so many options out there that you have to be happy with yourself before you put yourself out there. And I think that's one of the things that I didn't do for a long time, right? I felt like I was damaged goods because of the dating situation that I was in with my daughter's father. And for a long time I had to learn that there are dudes out there that will dim your fucking light. Like blow that
That's a
bitch
whole
out.
episode.
They'll be like just
You
blow
know
it
what?
out.
Here's the thing. No, not even the blowout, right? Because we on some, and I'm not an arrogant person. At some point, as you get to know me, you'll understand that I'm really not. I'm actually working on my confidence as we speak. However, I have come to understand that I'm a pretty bright light, nothing to sneeze at. So, I have experience, and so have you, and you help me, right? Because you're like a little sister to me. So, in watching you and being a part of your journey and seeing the things that you go through, there were many things that I watched you go through that I had already been through. But I had a passion to not allow you to do the same things and make the same mistakes that I made. And so you are a beautiful, bright light, just as I am. And what I saw is someone trying to cover your light up, right? And control it. When they wanted to see it, they took the cover off. But other than that, you were not permitted to shine bright in any other capacity than what they approved. And so being able to teach you taught me. You know what I'm saying? It helped me to understand, because then everything I put in you and everything I said to you that God gave me to give to you, when the time was right, you said it right back to me. And
Right.
you said it to me like, excuse me, but you taught me that there are people out there who, yes, they want to take from your light, or they don't want you to outshine them. And that's kind of a part of where the community service came in too, is like, with everything and every career that we know of, 9 times out of 10, someone tells you got to pay your dues. Well, the pay your dues comes from, you basically got to go unrecognized. You got to not have all of the light shining on you so you can learn some things. And people say it all the time, portraits are developed in the dark, right? Everything that has to happen to get you to where you're the beautiful image that God created you to be, right? And that's scripture. We are created in the image of our Creator, fearfully and wonderfully made at that. So as you're developing and not getting the recognition, that's where it was easy for me to watch your life and say, oh, my baby doing community service. Her man is coming. Her knight in shining armor is coming.
And you are not
She just
it,
doing
baby.
a little community service. Yeah, and I was like, listen, don't sweat them, because when you go to volunteer, and you handing out stuff at the soup kitchen. When the man at the soup kitchen looks at you sideways, you don't go home and go, "Oh gosh, what? I need to work on me." Because today at the soup kitchen, that homeless guy was like, would you do that though? No, you
No,
wouldn't
you
do
would
that,
literally
right?
be like,
You would recognize I was out doing community service, and that man doesn't even understand the value of what I am. And it's not his fault. I handed him his soup, and he went back to his box, and I got in my car and drove home. That's
right,
what you would do.
right,
So when I was trying to help you to understand that, baby, you did your time there, you did your bid, it's over, it's time to move on. Cut that thing and be done with it, because
right,
you need the room and the space for the good thing, the blessing that God has for you. And we all got to go through our periods of community service, whether it's with multiple men or with one man, because like you said earlier, even within a marriage, there is a measure of community service. There is a time period where you pour into that person where you are not number one. You are not the one that's getting the recognition. Your light isn't the one shining bright. But that doesn't mean that's how it's supposed to stay.
right.
Do your
And I think
time.
that's, yeah. And I think that that's a big thing, right? And that's something we discuss in premarital counseling. Sometimes you forget about the dating period. You forget about the courting. You forget about the things that you did to get that person into the space that they're in. You
Mm-hmm.
get comfortable. And
Yep.
for all the women out there, whether you've been married for 20 years, you've been married for 2 seconds, or you are long away from getting married, the purpose of us talking about this is to, number one, encourage you to not settle for less. There are,
Yep.
I think, 7 billion people in the world. There's somebody out there for everyone. So don't settle for less. Even if you're married, sometimes you got to like reel it back in, keep it fresh, keep it funky, send your husband
Yep.
some nudes, whatever.
Yes. Sexting with your husband.
Right. Sex.
When I get a
Send
husband,
your.
I'm going to do some sexting. Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about sending nudes to your husband in a future episode. But like, it's okay to kind of reel it back in and be like, wait, we've been together for X amount of time. We've kind of lost our way, because we all do. We all lose our way at some point, and you got to go back to the basics. So pour in and give community service where community service is due.
Yep.
Or cut them loose and let them date the great value version of you. I learned that from my husband.
Yes.
I
We
learned that from my
are
husband.
not Walmart
Not
ladies.
right.
Okay.
We,
Now, don't get me wrong. I really like Walmart. They got good prices and stuff like
by
that.
the
But let's
way,
just be honest.
Walmart delivery will change your life. Well, we'll talk about that. Literally.
Wait a
Like, I'm
minute.
tired of
Okay.
it. I love me some
Walmart has
Publix,
the
but
money to pay for a sponsor, so we got to switch subjects now, because they are not sponsoring this episode. So
they
we
are
will not
not.
be giving free advertising to already established
No.
businesses. Only new and up and
But
coming.
we are not great value women. So it's okay for you to cut ties with that person and let them go on. And, my husband told me that, oh, that's the great value version of you. Or, oh, it looks like my cousin, the great value version. Like, there's nothing wrong with the great value version, but this right here is not it. So
Yes, that's the
it's
department
okay.
store, honey.
It's okay. Yes, we're available at Nordstrom's, not Nordstrom's Rack. So
At the department store, not
the Rack, not the Rack.
Got it.
So, with all that being said, watch out who you lay with, watch out who you give your attention to, watch out that they're not dimming your light. Make your list if you're single out there, recently divorced, whatever the case may be. Make your list.
Even
pray
married,
about it.
right?
Yes.
Because I believe that even within a marriage, if you are not getting all of the things that you need, the culmination of everything that I said tonight as she was going along this journey was, Go to God for everything you desire. So whether you're married or single, if your husband's not acting the way you want him to act, what would you do if your washing machine wasn't working? You would call the
Try to
manufacturer
fix
and
that
say,
bitch.
"Hey, see this. I'm so happy you said that because that's exactly what the problem is. Your washing machine. You are many things. So talented. One episode, we'll go through everything that you have the capability to do. But because I've known you for 16 years, I know damn well fixing washing machines is not within your
It's not
bag.
my thing. It's not.
So
It's not. I would call and say, hey.
I'm gonna need you to call the manufacturer when your washing machine does not work appropriately. And you know what the manufacturer is going to do? They're going to tell you one of two things. They're going to tell you, hey, you know what? You're absolutely right. Let me work on that for you because that is not how I intended for that to operate. Or they're going to tell you it's user error. You're doing it wrong.
Right.
So what I'm saying
clean the lint out of the holder and see if that thing
more than
heats up
once a
again.
year. You know what I'm saying? So I say to all of those women out there, in or out of a relationship, if it is not the way you desire for it to be, go to the manufacturer. Who is the manufacturer of your spouse or significant other or that of which you want to have? It's God. God created us all. So go to him and say, hey, this ain't working like it's supposed to. And he's either going to tell you, you're right, let me work on it a little bit. And that's where you have to be able to let go of that
right
thing.
And be patient.
And wait. Or he going to tell you, you're doing it wrong.
Right. No,
I need to deal with it.
Right. I 100% agree. So trust me, you don't have to end up being the 40-year-old cat lady
or
who
the
does not like cats.
With stuffed cats.
Right, with stuffed cats. I think that there's someone out there for everyone. And I think that the biggest thing for me is that I had no fucking patience whatsoever. And I needed to learn. And you know that I don't. I want things like, I want them quick. And when things start to derail, I want, like, let's talk to the engineer of the train tracks because this was supposed to go like this and it's not going like this anymore. And I don't like it. But you have to be able to take a step back and be like, number one, is this worth it? Number two, am I doing anything to allow this new behavior? Or was this person just not meant for me? Or is this chapter of my life over? And I now need to get myself together and move on. So we hope that you guys all out there, single, married, trying to get married, we hope that you all
embrace your community service.
Right. Embrace your community service and learn that sometimes you don't got to go back to the same soup kitchen or the same beach cleanup, or you just, you gotta pick another location.
Go to a different beach.
Right. Go to a different beach. So I hope you guys all take a little note from this. Our next episode, we're going to talk about job titles. Titles.
I'm excited.
And listen, we live in a society where everything has a title. So we're going to go through job titles, challenges. We're going to talk about people who specifically want you to have a title. Like, we can have multiple titles. We talked about this before. Yes, I am a mother. My daughter will be 13 next week. But I know, right? I feel old as fuck.
I don't. No matter how old she gets, I feel great. So,
but I am a mother. I also, I manage $1 million business. Like, we can go on and on with the different titles that we have. And Nia, we talked a little bit about your entrepreneurship and all the things that you're doing. So our next episode, we're going to take a deeper dive into that, to talk about job titles, to talk about society's views on job titles. And as always, thank you for watching. If you have any feedback, please email us at thebsidewithnattib@gmail.com. Like, subscribe, share. We love all of you. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time with our episode on job titles. Love you guys. Stay safe out there.